What's going on, y'all? Fabian speaks, and we are back with a video, man. Warning, don't make this mistake when you hate your job. He quit his job and suffered for 3 months, man. So the title is pretty self-explanatory. And I want to emphasize that we already know, man, a lot of people are in jobs that they just can't tolerate. They are in work that they just don't want to do. Their timing hasn't really came yet to where they can segue into something else. Some people, they like being part of the continuous cycle to where they hate what they do, but they still show up. But they don't ever try to better themselves. Those people are clinically insane, to where you hate your work, but you don't apply for new jobs. You don't update your resume. You don't build your network. You just over here just trying to sustain through the BS. Just because I gotta pay bills. I think that's the biggest detriment to where we have people in society who are so comfortable. Not comfortable in their jobs, but maybe comfortable in that rotation, right? Of, hey, I need a paycheck, and they're already living paycheck to paycheck anyway. So in actuality, it comes to a point to where they're so dependent on the check, it's just an addiction, you know what I mean? And like, we gotta eat to live, obviously. But when you can't expound on your resources, when you can't put some work in momentarily to sharpen up a resume or even use a resume builder, apply to jobs, put yourself back out there because you're fearful and where I am is okay, I'll just stick through it. That's a problem within itself, y'all. So I kind of want to emphasize, like, initially just to encourage people, if you're in a job that you don't like, try to do something else. Try to scale up a business. Try to, like I said, build your network. But the number one thing you shouldn't do is quit ahead of God's timing, man. Ahead of God's timing. I'm a strong believer, if you're praying to the Lord for new opportunity, new jobs, that he's going to open doors. But is it going to always be in your timing? Likely not. So the first example was talking to somebody who's comfortable in their job, probably likely isn't praying or even looking for anything else, for a blessing. They just going through the motions. Now I'm segueing into a different type of person now that, you know, let's say you pray to the Lord for an opportunity and he hasn't opened that door yet. Don't quit ahead of God's timing. Because we serve a creator who's very strategic, who has a purpose and a plan in every single thing he does. So think about that a little bit. If you're going through some type of struggle, maybe slight pain, not literal physical pain, but it's mental pain, anguish, but God, and you've prayed, and maybe you're even getting mistreated at work, it's an injustice, right? They're putting all the workload on you, and you prayed to the good Lord our God and nothing's happened yet. I immediately started to change my perception in situations like that, to where I look at it, maybe not everybody would look at it as an opportunity, but I look at it as colleging. Maybe he's putting me through this trial because on the other side of this, he got some greatness for me. He got something better for me. When I learned to change my perception in situations like this, man, things didn't really become as hard as I thought they were. You notice how people complain about things, but then like when it digresses, they like kind of like look around and check out the playing field or the landscape. It wasn't that serious. But that happens to me all the time. So I'm like, what was I fussing about? So God got a perfect plan in things, man, especially if you're tapping in and consulting with him. It's one thing to where you don't consider him at all. Well, yeah, he'll leave you alone, do your thing. But when you do consider him, expect a response, expect a reason behind why you're going through what you're going through and what's happening, because he's switching the pieces on the playing field. He's switching the pieces around on the chessboard. That's really how you got to think about it. So number two is, let's kind of talk about the no-nos, right? This is number two, to not take it out on everybody else or other people, because there's some type of growth in composure, being able to collect yourself, stoicism, whatever you want to call it, that it pretty much puts you in a space of when other situations, altercations occur, you know how to keep your cool. So some people, man, they take out all their frustrations on other people. Oh, well, like, this is happening to me. Well, F you, buddy. You know what I'm saying? Like, they can't internalize what's happening to them, so they express it in the most ridiculous ways. Keep your composure, because there's a lot of people out there in the world who's got fire. They got the waves rocking internally, but externally, you would have thought they were the most peaceful people in the world, but that's built over time. That's built over time. There's times where I used to be a super expressive person. Oh, wow. Now it's like, there's times to where, and I ain't gonna lie, I'm a person. Sometimes I may get high-headed, but I don't really always show that. When I do show it, I'm likely under the influence, which is not good to be anyway. But anyways, I've learned to practice keeping composure and remaining stoic. Not letting your emotions override every situation and scenario. Not taking it out on other people because you just need somebody to take it out on. So there's a lot of lessons in growth that you acquire, you learn to appreciate over time as you learn. There's some people who never learn the lesson. They just continue going through this repetitive cycle, and they miss out on everything God had for them. He could literally be just cultivating your character, and you miss it right over your head. You know what I'm saying? So think about that. Really consider that. And the last point that I was going to make kind of ties it into everything I was mentioning holistically, is the perception and not seeing it as a negative. That, man, if you really think about it, like, there's a season for everything. Nothing lasts forever. Things will come to an end, especially if you're longing for them to come to an end and you're making the extra effort, going that extra mile for it to come to an end, right? Nothing lasts forever. So even in the jobs that I dislike now, I just got to stick through it because I'm waiting on God's timing for him to open the door. I got countless examples in my life to where I jumped the gun, to where it was uncomfortable. I didn't feel good. I didn't like it. My lunch break wasn't long enough. I didn't like my coworkers. They treated me wrong. The work balance is not adding up. The leaders we work for are stupid. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't know how to lead. They lead you into destruction. Like, that's the worst working for a company when you got your boss or managers or supervisors aren't good leaders. So they don't set you up for success. But think about this. Don't ever jump the gun, because you may be shooting yourself in the foot, causing some unnecessary friction, suffering in a sense. But, I believe we serve a good God. And at the end of the day, a majority of what happens is still contributing towards your good. I used to always quit these warehouse jobs when I stayed with my mom. I would come home. I'll be there early. When she would get off work, she'd be baffled. Why are you here? And then she just saw this repetitive pattern in me to where I was quitting everything. Like, I couldn't sustain things I didn't like. I was a big kid. And I think at that point in time, I was heavily smoking and things of that stuff. So, I would get off and go smoke a joint. Like, I was doing very hippie stoner type of activities to where, like, I was lazy. Let's keep it a buck. I was super lazy, man. So there's been times to where, I quit my job prematurely, but I was tapped in with the Lord, and he still sustained me in ways I couldn't even fathom. Getting random checks, parts of my other channel getting a huge check from the YouTube partner program to where I could pay my bills in a month. So this is what I mean. If there's any takeaway, God will never leave you out to dry. So if you're in a struggle, a situation right now, keep praying about it, keep seeking him, and wait on his time. There's always going to be a solution. There's always going to be an answer. There's always going to be a door to open. On top of that, just put in effort. If you don't like your job, like I was saying, fill out applications. Maybe learn an additional skill that will put you into a better job. Like, we're living in a day and age to where you can make it happen. Although we're going into we're in a recession, right? We got an economic collapse, but still, I'm just talking about from a general standpoint, right? There's still things that you can do. So let me know y'all's thoughts on this, man. Comment down below. Let me know if y'all ever encountered anything similar. Peace, love, prosperity. God bless. We'll see y'all in the next video.